Hello again, and welcome to Personal Productivity Using Technology with Dr. X. Today we are heading full speed to Chapter 2 of Excel, Formulas and Functions. So, this is for real. You will not believe this, but this is for real my favorite chapter. Well, part of it is because I'm gonna say it, don't get upset, I love math. I really like math and I really like how Excel is doing math. So in this chapter we're gonna learn a lot about some advanced functions that we can use: statistical, accounting. Some of you are scientists, some of you are accounting majors, some of you are economics, marketing. So all of you are going to use these functions. Furthermore, even if you are arts majors, you will definitely use calculations like these in your everyday life. So maybe to do your everyday economics analysis, or maybe to even plan something for your theatrical or music company, so you may have to do some planning. So all of these functions are useful for everyone, I promise you, everyone. But first we're gonna start with references. We've talked already about cell references and we've used these a little bit in the previous spreadsheet. So we're gonna start talking about these references and how we can use these to the best of our productivity and to create a super cool spreadsheet. And we will also talk about circular references. So these are the two topics we're gonna cover on this chapter. So I'm gonna go, as always, to blackboard.ju.edu, log on with my JU and the ID and password, and go to the class homepage, course documents, and you can download documents from the Excel part where we have the chapter 2 Excel spreadsheet. So we will need the E02C1 GIM spreadsheet, and that's the one I'm using here. So let's open it. Oops. So at this point we have a complaint from Excel and a caution complaint that there is one or more circular references in your workbook, and that may cause trouble. So here's the deal. Okay, you just inherited this, you work at the gym, you may be an administrator at the gym or working at the front desk, and you just inherited this from the previous person that was updating the memberships to this gym, and they have an error in their calculations, their formulas, and you have no idea where this is at. So first thing you could do is, don't forget, you always have help. You can use the help of the message. You always have the question mark help. So you can always use the help, and by using the help you can get an explanation of what is this circular reference. There's a really good explanation that I would ask you to read, especially with Excel. Help is a wonderful manual that you can use, whether you use it to correct your errors, or whether you use it to read about a function and how it works and what arguments you should use in this function. Excel help is your friend. And oh, by the way, you will be allowed to use Excel help in your exams, your 2 Excel exams. So lucky you don't have to memorize anything. So this help, I would ask you to pause the video and browse through this, because it's really well described, and then get back once you're done and I will explain in my own words and find where this circular reference is. So, welcome back. At this point, you have probably read what the help was about, as I asked you to pause the video and read the help that was given from Excel to describe what a circular reference is. So at this point, I'm gonna click OK. At this point, I'm at loss. Okay, I'm lost. I have no idea where I can find this circular reference. So here is the deal. Okay, I need to find the circular reference and correct it. Okay, so this is going to be part of the lab, but I'm going to show you the methodology to find errors in your formulas. So there's a dedicated tab, my favorite, Excel tab, that and the data tab. I have to admit, I like that too. So the formulas tab has a whole formula auditing group, and this is very good because it helps you with error checking. And of course, we have already used something in this formula auditing. We have used the show formulas, so we can show the formulas or control tilde and have our formulas showing in the spreadsheet. But still, I have to read all the formulas and I have to have very good understanding of the circular reference in order to find it. However, there's this great error checking window menu that I can use, and it has a circular references option, and the circular references option already points me to a cell, the cell I11. So interestingly, it doesn't point to the first cell that has a circular reference, but it points to a cell that has a circular reference. If you go through the whole column, you will see, if you understood when you read the help what a circular reference is, you will see that all of the column I, from I5 up to I13, includes circular references. So again, what is a circular reference? So this column, circular references, has to do with a circle, an endless circle, an infinite loop, as we call it in computer science, a loop that you cannot get out of it. So here's the loop as I see it over here, and I'm going to do the control tilde feature so that you can see the formulas in I. So what I see here is that this calculation, and I know it's a calculation because it starts with equals, refers to the cell G5, excellent, the cell H5, seems good, and the cell I5. That doesn't look good because the cell I5 is the cell in which the formula, the calculation resides in. So this is like the cell I5 chasing its tail. Have you ever seen a dog chasing its tail? Well, it's probably never gonna catch it. And that's what's happening with I5. I5, it's trying to evaluate itself, but then it also uses itself in a calculation. That cannot happen. It's like me chasing my tail. Who am I? But I want to use who I am in this formula, and the loop goes on and on and on and on to infinity. Okay, so in your lab you will be called to resolve this circular reference, and I'm sure by the time that we finish all of these nice videos you will know how to do this. I'll give you a hint. The cell I5 should not refer to itself. So now we know what a circular reference is. For example, if I start in the monthly payment and start doing silly things like J5 plus H5, And then I use the autofill. Remember the nice autofill. And the autofill works nicely and says J6 plus H6 because it's vertical autofill, so refreshing the autofill in your head. The vertical autofill just increases the row numbers. However, I'm in trouble here because J refers to itself. J5 refers to J5. J6 refers to J6. Trouble. So to get rid of that, I can just get rid of the J column. And if you look at the error checking circular references, you will find more circular references as you go. So that's it at this point about circular references. I'm going to delete these and go back to references. So this is a video all about references, okay? So far we have used simple references, references that we call relative. A relative reference is a reference to a cell without any, well, the practical way of talking about this is without using any dollar signs, okay? So, for example, let's say that I want to use a reference to the, let's say I want to calculate something new here, like total fees, and then use the cell deluxe, so equals deluxe plus 75, which is the locker fees. Okay, so total fees deluxe. If somebody has a locker purchased, so I have the deluxe membership cost, and I also have the locker fee cost. The total fee for the deluxe plus locker will be not 575, correct me please, reference to the deluxe cell, which is B18, reference to the locker fee cell, which is B22, so plus locker fee. At this point, if you're starting to lose me, you can just pause the video and look at this spreadsheet. Okay, read a little bit the scenario that you're required to play. You're a person, a secretary, an admin in the front desk of a gym, and you've got all these costs. You've got membership costs, you've got fee costs, and so on and so forth. So I can continue my work here, Control C, Control V, Control V, for the different types of memberships, like total fees, family, plus locker fee, and total fees, individual. Plus locker fee. So nicely, since I have all of these fees in the same column, family fee is right here, individual fee is right here, so they have a nice sequence, B18, B19, B20. I would logically think that it would be perfect for me to do a nice vertical autofill, and then B18 would switch to B19, B19 would in turn switch to B20. So that's my nice vertical autofill, and it takes care of the different fees. So now I have the appropriate fee, the corresponding fee for every membership, and I just demonstrated that. But look what happens here. At this point, I have an error, and it's not a circular reference or any other type of error. It's a logical error. I'm adding the family fee, $1,500 or B19, to the interest rate. So not only B18 with the autofill increased to B19 and got me the corresponding family fee, but also my locker fee was changed. And this is something I do not want. Nuh-uh, I don't like that. So what I would like, if I had my way, would be to keep the same reference, to keep B22 the same, no matter what I do, and just autofill with B19, B20, and so on and so forth if I had even more membership types. How can I do this? Well, that's $1 million question. And that's where we come to different types of references. So B18 and B22 are what we call relative references. But there's also two other types of references, what we call mixed and absolute. So I'm going to have here two examples. So I'm going to have example 1, and let me make this shiny red. So I'm going to do the same thing in these 3 columns with different types of references, and of course I'm going to correct this error that doesn't calculate the proper fees, because if I switch over here, you see, total fees deluxe, and I can increase the width of my column. Actually, there's a trick that I haven't told you yet about. If I double click on this line, I get my column increased just enough so that I'm able to see the whole text that is included in that column. Let me do this again. Double click on the right line of the column, and it gets just enough big so that I can see the whole text. You see here? Same thing. Okay, cool. That was a trick. Keep that in mind. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back to formulas, Control tilde. And the first formula is cool, but I want to have the proper formulas here. I'm not going to change anything for my first column. The first example is, the second example should be correct. And this should be the absolute reference. So absolute reference. So this is going to be example 2 correct, and it should use an absolute reference. Excuse me. So let's make this green because they are correct. Okay, so how am I going to do this? Again, calculator mode, which starts with equal. Calculation mode starts always with equal. And definitely I'm going to keep the part that was correct, which is B18, plus the fee for the locker, B22. But now, at this point, there needs to be change. I need to make B22 an absolute reference. How am I going to do this? If you press function 4 or F4, and if you're using a laptop, it's going to be different, or if you just type a $sign in front of B and a $sign in front of 22, that $sign indicates that the row number B, 22, excuse me, and the column letter B, so the row number 22 and the column letter B shall not change. And if you do not believe me, you can use the autofill feature and look at what happens. It's really magic. So now B19 changes properly according to the autofill property and gets increased vertically. The row number gets increased, but the B22 cell shall not change. The B column doesn't change because it has a dollar in front of it. The row number 22 shall not change because it has a dollar in front of it. Same in the third row. In row C20, in cell C28, again I've got the proper solution, and this is the correct fees. This is the correct total fees. You can even cross-check this. Another tip: cross-check yourself. You're the human, you know how to do these calculators, so cross-check. If I'm paying a family membership and I'm also paying $75 for a locker, then 1,500 plus 75, 1,575. You need to cross-check your formulas, you need to cross-check yourself, because if you autofill this formula for 100 cells, let's say, you need to check the first 2 or 3 cells to see if they're doing the proper thing. You're the human, the computer cannot check you. The computer can check only specific types of errors. Okay, that's a lot of things for one day, but let's give it one last shot. This is the last thing that we're gonna look in this specific little part of Excel chapter 2, and that is all about mixed reference. So here's the truth, okay? So example 3 is going to be correct result, and then we're going to use mixed reference. So the mixed reference in this case is going to be this. Think about, your B22 cell. Okay, of course I'm going to do the same thing, B18 plus B22. When you use the vertical autofill, what is going to change? Well, the row number is going to change. From B22, you're going to go to B23 and B24 based on the properties of the vertical autofill. So the only thing that I want it to remain unchanged is the row number. I don't care about the column. The column does not change with vertical autofill. It only changes with horizontal autofill. So here I go. Now I created a mixed reference. A mixed reference practically only includes $1 sign, either in front of the column or in front of the row. An absolute reference includes $2 signs, one in front of the column and one in front of the row number. So now I claim that this is correct as well. And it is. Oops, I overdid it. I dragged my autofill one extra row. So here we are, and we have the same nice result, and we can cross-check that the 2 columns that I claimed that they are correct, they are indeed correct. And I have my nice, very nice results with my absolute reference and the mixed reference. So after this video, here's what I would encourage you to do. In the next 2 columns, you can use different mixed references. Like, for example, experiment with a mixed reference that has a dollar sign in front of B, in front of the column letter. So I would suggest here to experiment with example 4 and then use a mixed reference. This is not going to be correct, that's what I claim, but I'd like you to prove me wrong or right. So mixed with absolute column, so with dollar in front of column. So after you finish this video, I would suggest to experiment with this. Okay, you're not going to get a grade, but you're going to understand better what we're doing here, because as you know, at the end of the 2nd chapter of Excel, we have our first big exam. So practice, practice, practice. So use a mixed reference here that is going to have a dollar sign in front of B, the column letter. So add a dollar sign in front of B and no dollar sign in front of 22, and use the autofill feature and look what happens in this column E. So that should be good practice. So I will leave you to this, and I will see you next time when we're going to talk about more formulas. Yay!